about, I don't know, a couple of weeks go by, and my father finally asked me. He came home from work, and he asked me, and he said, "Hey, Steve, how's it going?" I'm like, "It's okay." And he looked down at me, and he said, "Come on, Steve, what's going on? There's something wrong." And I said, "Well, you know, this place stinks. I hate school. The kids are stupid. They always pick on me and harass me. Why can't we just move back to where my friends are?" And he got very still, looked down at me. He said, "Steve, look, I'm sorry you're having a hard time, but we can't move back. I'll tell you one thing," he says. "If somebody picks on you, I'll tell you what I would do. I would wallop them." Well, I looked up at my father, you know, and he's a tall man. I'm down there, so I'm looking up, and my shoulders come back, my chest comes out. "Wallop them." He said, "Yeah, I'd wallop them." "Wallop? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do. I'll wallop them. Yeah, yeah." So I go off to my room, and I go into my room, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll just wallop them. Yeah, that's what Dad said. That makes sense." And I'm looking in my mirror, and I look in the mirror. "Yeah, I'll just wallop them. They bully me again." What's wallop mean? I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. Wallop them. I'm like, you know, so here I am in front of my mirror, and I'm like, you know, and I'm kind of like beating up that mirror, you know, and I'm feeling really good. I was the champ of the bedroom. That mirror never laid a hand on me, and I'm feeling really good. I slept really well that night, you know, and I couldn't wait to go to school the next day. And I go out, and morning was fine, and I go out and I have lunch, and I walk outside after I eat lunch, and I go out there, and I'm just, you know, I'm just waiting. I'm just walking around out there in the yard, just waiting for someone to come up from behind me. Nothing. The bullies turned out to be on a whole different schedule than I was on. They didn't know my plans. So nothing ever happened. I didn't go up to them. I'm no fool. I didn't go up to them, but nothing happened. It was about 2 days later when I was kind of calmed down a little bit. Same as usual. I had lunch, went outside. I was eating lunch by myself, didn't have any friends. Went outside, and just as I went outside, all of a sudden, there were 3 of them right there in a little triangle, and a whole bunch of kids behind them. There's like 7, 8, 9 kids, I don't know. And all of a sudden, they started in on me, you know, just making fun of my shoes, making fun of my hair, making fun of my clothes. It wasn't any different than what they were wearing, I don't think. But they made fun of me and challenged me to a fight to see how tough I was. And all of a sudden, I'm standing in front of them, and I'm like, I'm not walloping anybody. Are you kidding? There was the big guy, and they sure seemed big to me. I mean, I felt like this big. And they're there, and there's lots of them. And I didn't realize that if I hit them, you know what's going to happen? They're going to hit me back. That mirror in my bedroom never hit me back. This was real. I felt lower than an earthworm. I mean, I was just, guys, cut it out. And they're saying things. I walked, man, things were terrible. I mean, life was miserable for me. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I wasn't thinking about my schoolwork. And, you know, I really wish maybe my father would have told me how to wallop somebody, but he didn't. I know he meant well, but he didn't actually tell me how to wallop anybody. Well, here's the funny thing. I finally figured out a solution. It was by accident, actually. A couple of days go by, I'm miserable, and I finally figured out that the bullies are mean, but they're not stupid. They never bothered me in front of a teacher. So I always figured, well, they don't bother me in class because I was sitting up front. All right, that's cool. And when I was sitting by myself in the lunchroom, I was sitting to where there was the lunchroom lady. And I'd go out. I would just wait till the adults went out. I just went out with them. All right, that didn't take much. And then what I do is they're all playing soccer. I like to play softball. This is September. Nobody's playing softball. I wasn't very good at soccer. So I figured, well, what can I do out there? There was the playground monitor. So I got a basketball, and I just played basketball by myself. I really wasn't very good. I didn't play that much. But, you know, I'd start playing. You know, boom. And I wasn't good at dribbling, but I started practicing right, left. I mean, I messed up a lot. I missed shots a lot. It was actually getting better. I was doing this every day for about 2 or 3 days, and I was getting better and make believe I was in my own game, and it was fantastic. I was having a good time by myself. Bullies didn't bother me because the adult was nearby. But what did happen is another kid finally came by. Kid that I seen in class, that I knew in class, but I really wasn't friendly with him. He said, "Hey, Steve, can I play with you?" Sure. He came over and he played. And we were playing a game and was having a good time. A couple of his friends came over, and all of a sudden, I had a bunch of friends. I didn't, like, try to make friends in a sense. I was trying, but this just came accidentally. But I was getting good at basketball. They were friendly with me, and all of a sudden, I wasn't messed with too much anymore because I was always with this group of kids as much as I could be. I was still walking around worried about these other kids. They didn't get messed with as much. So that was cool. But there was something else that happened which was really weird. There was this other kid a few months later. This weird kid, Bert that came in. He looked kind of weird. See, I wasn't getting picked on anymore, but I didn't forget about what happened to me. And this kid comes in, and he's like, you ever have those, he was like a little bit off. It was just kind of strange. He talked a lot, and when he always talked, he was always talking about like dinosaurs. He always had like dinosaurs, and he was like, always had all his stuff with him, and he always walked around like this. And he looked kind of weird. And when he talked about dinosaurs, he'd be like right in your face. Like, did you know about dinosaurs? There were some dinosaurs. Now, you see this color? Some dinosaurs really were this color. It's like, all right with the dinosaurs. You know, it was like funny but weird, and we made fun of him. We would tease him. We didn't pick on him like, we didn't want to beat him up. We actually invited him to hang out with us because we could make fun of him, and we could insult him, and he would kind of get that scrunchy little face like, oh, guy, cut it out. And like, well, is he laughing or is he mad? Well, we didn't really care because I would say the insults and these other guys that I was hanging out with, they would laugh. Well, thing is, put those down. I would do this for a while. We invited him to play basketball with us because he'd always mess up and we'd make fun of him. He would be like the clown of the group. We needed someone to be the clown of the group, and he'd be the one we'd pick on. And we'd always laugh, and he'd get that face on like, guys, stop it. Well, what happened is, one day, we're in class. We're doing a little project in the back of the room. I said something to him. I said something to Bert. The other kids laughed. And this one time, Bert just got really mad. He said, shut up already! And he took a book and he flailed it at me, went flying past my head, hit this girl in the back, goes boom, knocks her over, and all of a sudden the teacher just come flying over. He's cursing and swearing, and the teacher just got him out of there. I said, good, you know, he can't act like that in this class. It's good that he gets out of there. He goes out. 10 minutes later, teachers come up to me and my buddies. Got one of those. I didn't do nothing. They got us in trouble. Oh, man. Well, what happened was they heard the story from Bert. He told them what's been going on for a while, and they gave it to us, and we got in trouble. And we were like, you know, all right, we won't do it anymore, sorry, stuff like that. That was the beginning, though. That wasn't the end. A little while later, I go home, and I'm just walking into my house. The end of the day, I had forgotten about all that. And I go in, and as soon as I walk in, there's Mom. And she had one of those. And I'm like, uh-oh. She knows. I don't know how she knows, but she always knows these things. Well, even back then, they had telephones, and the school called my mother. And she laid into me, and she's like, I can't believe it, Steve. You, of all people, you're picking on somebody else. You're making somebody miserable. You couldn't eat. You couldn't sleep when somebody was bullying you, and now you're doing it to somebody else? And it's bad enough that you would do something as bad to somebody else as what happened to you, but you're picking on somebody with a disability? Are you kidding me? And I'm like, whoa, 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 Mom, no. Bert doesn't have a disability. He might be a nerd. He might be a bit of a loser. He's weird, but he doesn't have a disability. And she says, what do you think? You think all people with disabilities have disabilities like your uncle? Well, my uncle has a disability. I love my uncle. He's a great guy. He has a physical disability. When he walks, it's obvious he has a disability. When he talks, he has a speech impediment, so it's very hard to understand him. He's as smart as you and I in his head, but his body has a physical disability. I would never pick on a person with a disability. That's mean. That's terrible. And she says to me, what do you think? Everybody's like your uncle? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, he has a disability. He has a learning disability. I mean, they don't publicize this. They don't tell this to everybody. But maybe, did you think that that's why he does things that might be a little bit off? He hasn't yet learned how to talk to people with a little distance, and he hasn't really learned how to talk about other things besides dinosaurs, which you always tell me he talks about. He's got some disabilities. Oh man, that was it. That was enough for me. And I just stood back and I said, that was the end of that. We didn't really hang out with Bert so much anymore. I was still friendly with him. I never picked on him again because that got to me. Picking on somebody who was so much weaker, that wasn't fair. Now, I'm not saying all people with disabilities act weird, and I'm not saying people who act a little goofy have a disability. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is sometimes you really don't know. And if someone doesn't have the power, back off a little bit. But I will say one thing. There are things you can do. There are things that my parents should have helped me with when I was getting picked on. There are things that maybe Bert could have worked on, so you limit being picked on. Nobody should ever get picked on, but if you're one of those people that other people are harassing, there are some things that maybe you can do. Like, for instance, when I was walking away when those guys were bothering me, I shouldn't walk away like this. If I do this, it looks like they won. If I'm going to ignore somebody and walk away, you know what? Walk with your head held high and say, you know what? I don't got time for you. You just walk away with your head held high. Or if you're going to tell somebody to leave you alone, don't whine it. Don't whine about it. Don't say, leave me alone, will you guys? Cut it out. It should be more like, hey, cut it out. Leave me alone. And then walk away with your head held high. Show a little bit of strength. But also notice that I hung out by the adults and I hung out with new friends that I was able to make. And here is some ideas. Now for the fourth graders, if you can't read, I'll read some of this. Find others with similar interests and hang out with people who like you. People don't treat you nicely. You got to start working on finding some other friends. Learning martial arts or boxing. Remember when my father said to Wallop, he forgot to actually teach me. I don't agree with fighting at all. But when I was 20 years old in college, I actually took karate. And you know what I found out? That not only did I have the skill and a bunch of new friends that also knew karate, I also walked with more confidence. And the funny thing about learning how to fight, you learn how to fight, you don't have to fight most of the time. Most of the time you don't have to. If you know how to protect yourself, you probably won't even get into a fight. Hopefully you won't. Practice sports, pick a sport. I decided on basketball, softball, soccer, lacrosse, join a club. Could be chess club, math club, glee club. Audition for plays and shows. Sixth graders, you might have some of this available to you when you're in the middle school. Work out, exercise. Even if you don't like sports, feel good about yourself. Getting in good shape. Find other people who like to work out. Jog or lift weights. Play an instrument. Become an expert in something you like. Even if it's dinosaurs. Just don't talk about it all the time. Okay? Respect.
So I'm going to take one or two questions, and then we're going to go on to the next part. Would you go? Yeah, that sometimes happens where you have a friend similar to what happened with Steve and Bert, where they made it out like they were friends, but they were really tricking so that they could make fun. Sometimes people will trick that they're your friends because they want to, let's say, like swim in your pool during the summer, or they want to go to a really cool place that you and your family are going to.
Some of the work I did with the 5th and 6th graders, you might remember, is talking about what we expect from a friend in terms of how they treat us. Very often say, if I want my friends to treat me nicely, and they don't treat me nicely, it may be time for me to say, I need to find some other friends. Not always easy to find other friends, but that's my job.
This person right over there?
Yes, yes, you.
Was the story true?
Yes. Yep.
Really happened?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to ask for hands to go down. I want to ask you something. Have you ever noticed, Steve was talking before, he said that most of the kids at this school, they're not the ones doing the bullying, and that most of them, we're not being targeted. But most of us, we see it happening. We'll hear something on the playground. We'll hear about something on the bus. We'll know that somebody else is doing some of this bullying behavior, this unfair teasing, where it's not amongst equals. Do you notice what most people do when they see bullying going on? Has anybody noticed? And you can call it out. What do most people do when there's bullying going on?
Teacher.
You get some people who tell the teacher. Absolutely. What do some other people do? Some people just walk by and ignore it. Absolutely. Yes.
Some people like not exactly like mouth back, but like talk back.
Okay, so some people might even give some words back. Good. How about you?
Some people might like be in fear and like just be afraid to like stay out of it.
Yeah, you know, look, that's scary stuff going on there. I feel bad that they're picking on Steve, but if they're picking on Steve, that means they're not picking on Mike. Some people will ignore. You're going to ask for hands down. Some people will ignore. Some people will actually join in, where it's like, maybe I'll bully a little bit too, you know. Maybe nobody will catch it. I'll join in also. Maybe I'll say something. I'm bad. You know, sometimes it's fun to do that. And some people will actually go to the teachers. Some people don't feel comfortable going to the adults. I don't know what to do. I've seen something going on here. It's scary. I'm scared to go over and tell them to knock it off. I don't want them to bully me. I don't really know this guy, and I feel bad for him, but he should stand up for himself. It's not my job, is it? So sometimes, bystanders, the people who are standing around, that crowd, we don't know what to do. We're not sure what to do. So, here's some things that I want you to think about what's a bystander to do. That person in the crowd. What can I do? Well, at very least, don't join in. If you see somebody bullying Steve over here, don't join in. And not only don't join in, get yourself away. Have you ever stood nearby when something is going on? And I'm not saying anything. I didn't even say anything. But this person